Hey everyone, Dan the Cardman back again, and as you can see by the video title, I've got another video on HGA. So I know I've had quite a few videos on there in the last couple of days, and I don't want this to be becoming a trend where I'm just constantly doing this on a daily basis. But this time I saw something pretty interesting and I wanted to give my thoughts on it. So basically scrolling through Instagram, and one of the pages I follow, one of the groups of guys that I follow is the Sunday League Investors. So they do a lot of really cool trading card vlogs, specifically focused on soccer, right? And being like Italian background, soccer's pretty big here in Australia, with a lot of like ethnic people that have immigrated here in the past. It's always been like really big in the subset of our culture. So I'm a big soccer fan. I'm really like drawn to their content because it's really interesting. They seem to be pretty new to the hobby, which is cool as well because you could get to sort of see them on their journey. And long story short, they made a post today, which I'll show in a sec, around an individual that had a HGA 9 of a Cristiano Ronaldo gold Prizm from, I think, Chronicles 2020. And they basically bought it as a HGA 9. After buying it, Sunday League Investors basically tell a story around how they bought it as a HGA 9. They realized afterwards that it wasn't numbered out of 10, so they're a bit confused. And then it looked like more cards were getting listed of the same Prizm and then being sold for less than what they purchased it for. So they were sort of like, okay, it was a bit crap. I may as well, because they must have got it cheap overall, but still not compared to what raw cards were selling for. So they were like, okay, let's just resubmit it with PSA. And it came back, as you'll see here. Oops, sorry, clicking the wrong thing. They came back as a PSA 10, which is really interesting, right? So, and you can see my comment down there. My comment is basically just saying like, HGA, it just goes to show, if you go to my video yesterday when I talk about some of the issues they're having and my thoughts on that and how it made me quite annoyed, and the reasoning for me to say that they needed to stick to what they sort of know and stick to what they can have control over, and that's modern cards, right? And it just goes to show, and this is just one instance, so it's not the best example, but it just goes to show that if they stick and just focus on this, they can actually do an okay job. So like the question is, okay, was HGA's grade too tough, which I have heard in the past. So it's why you hardly ever see any 10s from them. It's primarily driven by AI. So I'm not sure if you guys know, but the way it works is they'll basically get these really, really high res photos of the card, and an AI program or system, whatever you want to call it, will give it an assessment of the card, right? Front and back. And then what happens is they get that assessment and then goes to a human grader who will basically say, okay, does what the computers say make sense? Is there anything that I'm saying that's going to negatively say that grade is incorrect, or like will it improve the grade or take the grade down? So that's basically what they do. And then a third person comes in and reaffirms that person. So it's a six-side check, basically. You have the first review be the computer, the human making sure that what the computer is given is accurate and complete, and then a second human basically making sure the same thing. So it's a pretty stringent process, right? So people have pretty much said from the get-go that it's pretty strict. It's why you see no 10s. 9.5 from them appears to be like a BGS 9.5. I have seen some go back and forth before and pretty big grade swings, but that's quite rare from what I've seen. So in this one, it's pretty interesting that it just shows they're pretty tough. So the question is, do you factor in the HGA tough grade, or is it PSA have maybe dropped the ball on this one? It's hard to say. Like, it's indifferent, right? Grading is subjective, so you need to take it with a grain of salt. Like obviously, PSA and BGS are the benchmarks, right? But they're putting through so much volume now that there's a bit of irregularity coming through with their output. Like you're seeing some grades that don't make sense. And I would put that purely down to volume. They're trying to get through too many cards. So they've probably got all these additional graders that have come on board that are maybe not as experienced as they would have been historically when they're only looking at small subsets of cards. So you probably put it down to that, and it's okay because it's a learning process, right? The same thing with HGA with their issue. It's a learning process. So you cut them some slack. So it's like, it's subjective. Who's to say how much of that is relevant? Is it more on PSA being too lenient, or is it more on HGA being too tough, or just something completely different? So I'm curious to see, like long term, what this might mean, or not necessarily what it might mean, but like whether we start getting more of these comparisons being done, it'll give us a better understanding of how good HGA is and basically where they sit within the market. Like I said before, I have seen some the other way where if I recall, there was a video a while ago, Retro Hoops Collectibles did a video on it, so go back through his videos and check it out. But basically, somebody sent a bunch of cards off to PSA, and I think they came back like 6s or 7s, and then they got sent to HGA and came back 9s or 9.5s. That one's a little bit iffy to judge, right? Because then it's like, well, HGA knew if PSA have a bit more credibility within the market, within the hobby, you take what they've done, as in, is HGA being too lenient in that case? Is PSA being accurate, or like it's hard to judge that discrepancy between the two. Whereas in this case now, given that it goes the opposite way, it probably speaks a little bit more to the fact that HGA probably grade pretty accurately and fairly, I would say. And because it's driven by a machine, it's probably a bit more standardized. It gets rid of that subjective nature of it, and that's what they're trying to. That was their key ethos, right? Coming in and trying to get rid of that ambiguity within the hobby. So it's interesting. I just wanted to quickly give my thoughts on that. And I'm going for 6 minutes, so I'm sorry, you guys know I like to like ramble, but you're just going to get your thoughts. I don't want to make this a regular thing. I just thought, given the videos that came out the last couple of days, I feel like I needed to comment on this because I don't want to be a HGA hater. Like, I really like them as a company. I really like their product. I just think from an issue perspective, they need to move away from some of these vintage cards that they don't necessarily have the expertise over to grade. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out my last couple of videos on HGA and I'll go into detail on that. But if they keep doing things like this, and let's say more cards start doing this and it shows discrepancies, or it shows that maybe they are really harsh compared to what BGS are doing, what SGC are doing, what PSA is doing, and that sort of gives their name credibility, right? So it makes them justifiable as an option to use within, if you're a card collector. Like, I think if you're someone collecting PC cards, I think you should still submit to them, irrespective of what my thoughts were in the video the other day. I think if you're looking to flip cards, maybe be a bit hesitant. Like, I'll probably still submit my PC cards, like I said, but this sort of gives me a bit more comfort and reaffirms the things I was saying yesterday. If they keep sticking to what they can do, which is ultra modern cards, focus on getting these things done right, get rid of the issues with the slab, so on and so forth, I think they're going to be okay. But if they keep doing the stuff like the other day where it's the precious metal gem crap, grading fake cards that they have no expertise over, authenticating, they're not authenticating, but PC slabbing unauthenticated cards that are very clearly fakes is also very silly. So they need to get away from that, get back to this stuff, right? Because I think this is pretty cool and it probably gives their name a bit more value. Whether it's a one-off thing or not, that's another question, but I'm just talking hypotheticals here, right? Like, I think if it's this the way it's going, then it's good for them. So I just want to get my thoughts. Like I said, I don't want to look like I'm a hater. I like what they're doing. Let's see what happens moving forward. Like I said, whether we start seeing more of this. So that's it. Hope you liked it. As always, I'll see you in the next video. I've got a few cool things coming up. Please check those out. If you haven't seen my videos on BGS, PSA, HGA, because there's been a few in the last couple of days, please check those out. Like I said, I don't want to look like a hater, so just don't hate on me if you think I am. I'm just trying to give my thoughts on the process and get a bit emotional at times, angry. But that's just how it is because I care, right? So I like them. Let's hope it's more of this, less of what we've seen in the last few days. Let's hope Tyler comes out, gives his thoughts, and we go from there. So cheers. As always, I'll see you in the next one.